Good morning, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Sharifah Videocast. I have an incredible show for you today. One of the guests I have for you today is an amazing person. When I first met her, I recognized her aura from across the room, from across the crowded room. And I said, who is that masked woman? Who is she? What does she do? I have to meet her. I met her. I got to know her and her organization. She is so supportive. She supported me in so many of my endeavors. And I said, the world has to meet my next guest. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her, but I know this show is going to change lives. It's not only going to change your life, but it may change the life of people around you. So please go ahead and share this show, tag your friends, let them know as Sharifah Videocast is live with a very special guest. We have Dr. Semien McBride of MKCircle CEO Institute. She is amazing. Dr. Karen has over 25 years of experience in the field of organizational leadership, business development, change management, strategic planning, public speaking, mentorship, marketing, social psychology, accounting, human resources, human equity, finance, executive coaching, compliance, entrepreneurship, consulting, business administration, and higher education. I can't wait to introduce you to the wonderful Dr. Karen Semien McBride. What an introduction, Dr. Karen. Come
Yeah,
on. How are you today?
I
Welcome,
am
welcome, welcome.
wonderful. Thank you. Hi, Sharifah. Thank you for having
Hello. Thank
me.
you. Oh, no. Thank you for joining us. I remember the day we first met. We were at the KJLH Women's Black Health um, Conference at Long
Yeah,
Beach
the Women
Convention Center.
Expo. Right,
Women's
right.
Expo, yes, yes. And it was a whole room full of people. And I'm walking around, I'm introducing myself, handing out my business card. And when I get to your booth, there was a long line. And what was so interesting to me was that there were two other people who I assume could have helped or assisted some of these other people, but people were like, no, I want to work with, I want to talk to Dr. Karen. You are so amazing, and I want to learn more about you. Would you just tell us briefly? We're going to do your elevator pitch. How would you describe Dr. Karen?
Oh, describe me. I thought you was gonna go
Yes.
straight into the company. I'm so used to talking about the company. Well, I guess to describe me, I would say I am a teacher at heart, right? I am a teacher of people. I am a gatherer of knowledge. I am a person who wants to see people succeed, period. End of story. I want to see growth in every single person that I come in contact with. And if I don't hear it in your voice that you're trying to grow and you're trying to move in a direction that elevates you, I'm pretty honed in because that is just my calling. My calling is to help individuals, companies, organizations grow.
Where would you say that calling came from?
Oh my goodness. It's so funny because I remember as a young girl, I love math. And so I was the young lady who was doing like my family's taxes at the age of like, 16, 17. My, my mom was like, oh yeah, she'll do your taxes for you. And so I love numbers. And so immediately I think my mom was saying like, you're going to be a CPA. You're going to go and be somebody who does accounting and finance. And I was like, yeah, okay, I like numbers, so I guess that makes sense. And then when I realized that they just sit and count numbers, and no, look, no disrespect to finance people, I love them to death, but I that's not me. That's not what I want to do. And
I
I
thought
it
that was
kind of
just me. I thought that was just me because people don't know I went to college to be an accountant. And I was like, I cannot spend all day counting beans. That's just not me and who I
not
am. Hopefully
me,
someone else
not
feels
me.
the same.
Exactly. And so I once I realized that that was not what I wanted to do, because I mean I actually was in finance. I was actually an assistant controller. I spent some time as an interim controller, and I kept finding myself teaching through the process. Right, I found that the part I liked was teaching people things, and so then that's when I go, oh, wait a minute, I like to teach. That's what I like. And so as I start having more opportunities to teach, then leadership kind of falls into teaching, right? So then, okay, I'm leading. And so as leadership became more prevalent, especially in my career, my educational career, I was very focused in on leadership and business. And I found that I could teach people in different ways. And that's kind of where coaching showed up. So it's like just a kind of progression of what teaching is to individuals, not necessarily in a higher education setting or an educational setting, but just in a day-to-day setting. And so I think my calling just came from the fact that I like to teach. I like to impart information. I like to research and then impart information so then people are informed. And I think that's where the calling kind of just tied together. So definitely a teacher first, and then a grower of people second.
Oh, wow. I want to grow with you. I definitely do, because there aren't a lot of CEO institutes that I would even consider taking a class or taking a course. And it's not because I feel like, oh, I know it all, I have all the information, but I there's a part of me that feels a little intimidated. It feels like, okay, who am I to feel like I can go and be a CEO? It just feels overwhelming for me. Do you ever come across people who have that opinion, that same feeling?
Oh, absolutely. So social psychology and even organizational psychology talks a lot about human behavior, right? We want to focus on how humans operate and how they move. And yes, fear is just a normal emotion that is something humans experience often. Now, we play a part in that, though. Like, we actually kind of induce the fear a lot in how we think or how we process things. But we try our best when we're working with our clients to kind of just do our best to just kind of just help that dissipate, right? We try to talk to them about understanding why you have a fear of not doing something, or wanting to come and just connect with something that could possibly be positive to you, or talking your way out of it. We have the overthinkers out there, who I know you all know who I'm talking about. We have the over helpers out there, the over structured people out there, and there's so many ways we can talk ourselves out of doing things. And the biggest piece is just fear, and it's about stepping over that fear to be able to get to the place where we can say, no, I'm going to get myself some help. Probably the biggest word that I hear most is I'm stuck. When I talk to somebody, I just feel stuck. I feel stuck in my career. I feel stuck in my business, and I'm not growing my business. I feel stuck, period, as a person, that I'm not able to communicate to people the way I want to communicate, right? And so we hear, that's probably the common word that we hear, is stuck. And that stuck does tie to fear. It does tie to the unknown. It does tie to who am I? What am I? And we help you figure that all out.
Wow, I love it. Usually, I think of people who are stuck, and it's just me, which is why I love speaking to the experts. I think, and there's a part of my brain who kind of categorizes people, and I say, okay, well, the employees or the people who are the working people, okay, they're stuck. But the CEO always has a plan. The CEO knows what to do. The CEO knows where this ship is going. But as a CEO who is only a human, it can also be very difficult to know what to do. And because everyone in the company figures like you got it all taken care of, there's not someone that you can talk to or that you can go to for assistance. How do you work with CEOs to be that support system they need when they're going through these rocky roads and these trying times?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I mean, I'm glad you said that about, the entry point being stuck versus the CEOs probably not being. And honestly, I think it's the reverse. I
Mhm.
think the CEOs get stuck more than you can imagine. And they're stuck because they're not sure if they should grow the company, if they should wait, or if they have enough staff, should they hire more staff? I mean, there's so many areas. Or am I the right CEO for this company? I mean, there's a
Mhm.
lot of spaces where CEOs do get stuck. And actually, the those that are the workers, they are the ones that the CEO wants to empower for growth, right? That the goal, the beauty of the structure of an organization sometime is that if someone is at the entry level, that we should be trying to figure out how do we invest in the entry level to move them up and constantly move up, because that's how you start creating a succession plan. And so when you talk about what can the CEOs do, you have to help the entry point or the middle, provide things that's going to help them start to elevate, so then that you can move on to bigger and better things. Like me as a CEO of our company, my goal is to expand MKCircle CEO Institute in every outside of the US, right? We want to be able to expand and help people all over. I can't do that if I'm not setting the succession plan through supporting the growth of the entry, middle, and above. I have to invest. Culture comes from the top. So the CEOs have to set a culture of growth, set a culture of I'm looking for my succession plan through the process. And we're always to be in a succession plan mode of how do we continue to grow the individuals that will then support the growth of the business.
You know, again, let's go back to from the first time I met you, just hearing you, it makes sense when you say it. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Succession plan, I understand that, but it just can be overwhelming for a lot of people and a lot of CEOs. How can MK Circle and CEO Institute help the CEOs who are struggling alone?
Well, we start our program by helping you identify who you are. A CEO is a CEO of a company. It's not who you are as a person. And the part though that you are as a person applies into the CEO of the company, right? It's not the other way around. It's you as the person instills into the CEO to move it up, but not the other way around. And so a lot of times CEOs are not clear about how they operate. And what I mean by operate is like we're not clear about our thought process around certain things, or our strategies around certain things, or how we can communicate to certain people or interact with certain people. And the idea of people conforming to us is not the way it is. It's about us having to figure out how do we conform, or how do we adjust and shift to be able to support other people. And so to help CEOs, we start with helping them as a person. I need to know that you understand how to be a CEO. And what that means is how do you as a person run your company, not the CEO mantra of, oh, you're a CEO, you're just supposed to be the boss. Like, who are you personally as a CEO? You may be a compassionate leader. And so we got to talk about how do you lead from that compassionate place? Or you may be a conceptual leader. How do you lead from a conceptual place when your entire team is not conceptual? Or what if you are a very structured and detailed person, right? How do you lead that organization from that place when it's a organization that doesn't cause for more of that structure? So we really have to help them individually. Like, it is very clear that the concept of our work is not a respecter of person, right? It's not a cookie cutter. We have to look at every individual client, every individual CEO differently, and then support them through how they operate, and figure out where that is a positive for them and where that could be a detriment. Because once you learn who you are, there's goods and there's not so goods. We got to figure out where do we adjust the not so goods to make us in the better place to run our organization effectively.
I love that, and I definitely agree. I know that's right because I know as a CEO, one of my weaknesses are the same weaknesses when I was interviewing for jobs, and they asked you, okay, well, Sharifah, what areas can you improve on? And it's very hard for me to delegate. I understand the vision. I can explain it to other people, but I have a certain standard in what I want things done, which I want things done. And I know that everyone doesn't operate at that same standard. They don't operate at that same level. So it's been very difficult for me to grow many of my businesses because just like in life, when you mention personal, just like in life, I'm like, here, I'll do it. I'll do it. I just give it to me. I'll do it. And then what happens is
Right.
I burn myself out because I'm trying to do everything. and there's absolutely no growth because there's really literally a one person company, when in reality it should be more people who are responsible for different roles. But I delegate those roles and then I take them back because the person isn't doing it the way I want them to do it. Do you run into that, Dr.
Oh my
Karen?
gosh, Sharifa, that is probably percentage wise, that is probably about, I would say probably about a good 42% of our CEOs. It's that
Okay,
high.
wow.
It
Almost
really is.
half.
And what that is, what that represents is, to me, I see that as kind of the compassionate leader as well as the structural leader. So
Okay.
what happens is, what I say to those leaders though, the first thing I say to them is that if you don't delegate, you're taking away opportunity. And I
Mm,
know your compassion don't want that, right? As a
right.
compassionate leader, you don't want to take away opportunity. But if you don't delegate, you're taking away the opportunity from the person that you should delegate it to grow, right? And so we have to look at it from different perspectives, because we can look at it only from our perspective. And you go, well, I'm the CEO, I should be. No, as a CEO, you should be looking at it from multiple perspectives, not just yours. Because just because you're the CEO don't make you right. Just
Mm,
because of the CEO don't make you the best person to answer that question. That's why you hire and get support, so then that you can hire people to do certain things that you shouldn't be doing. And that's not easy, but it is the shift that's necessary for growth, right? And so we hear that all the time. Well, I just don't want to delegate, I could do it better. Yeah, but you have somebody who can do it, and if you want to grow, you got to do it. You must shift, and then be okay, because just because they don't do it exactly the way you did it, it still gets done. I've had people who don't process the way I process, right? But then I delegate something and they do it a different way. But at the end result, did the end result come out to what it should have been? And is it effective? Yeah. So why am I worried about they didn't take the 5 steps that I did to make the widget, when simply they did it differently and actually probably did it better, might even be stronger, might even be more effective. So the only way to find that out is to offer the opportunity for people to grow. If you keep doing it yourself and you keep doing it and let me take care of it, you will lose the part that you love, which is about imparting knowledge and support into individuals. So I share that with our CEOs all the time. And of course, I get the, oh, yeah, I don't want to do that. It's like, yeah, but that's what we're doing.
right. I would be in the one in the class like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. But I definitely agree with you. And one of the things as I matured as a CEO that I learned, and you don't want to do it too wide or too often, but sometimes in the process, you can find out more skill sets. Like, for instance, I have brought a person onto my team who I thought, I believed would be the perfect fit for this role, but she couldn't do the role. But in the process I learned that she was a great social media person, she was great at taking photos, she was
Yep.
great at kind of meeting people and introducing people. So yes, she was not right for this, but now we have someone who can do this. So I just allowed myself to be a little bit more flexible in
Yeah.
determining, the skill set of the team. Now, Dr. Karen, let me ask you, and I don't know, your belief or your stance, but you have some people right now who are like, America, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. We're out of money. We don't have, money for food, or we don't have this, we don't have that. And when people, that's a fear-based ideology, which I do not believe in, I don't accept, but people believe that. And when sometimes,
Yeah.
especially when you're starting and thinking about starting a company, people go into fear mode. They go into holding on to whatever they have. So whatever little bit of money they have, whatever little bit of resources they have, they're like, I don't want to spend it, I don't want to do anything. But what I've found is that when you do not invest in yourself, you do not invest in your company, then there's absolutely no way you're going to be successful. So, in what some may consider these trying times, what are some suggestions or recommendations that CEOs can do to grow and build their companies?
Wow. So let's break this up a little bit. So the part of kind of where we are in the world, it is the world is going to do what it's going to do, right? We have to figure out where do we fit in this space, and how do we protect our family? How do we protect us? But then also, how do we still continue to move? We can't just stop, right? Just because we see the country in a place where it's scary, maybe, but we can't just stop. We have to continue to move forward, right? And so I definitely focus on three areas when I'm thinking about things that are happening in the world. Like, I have to stay focused on, am I aware of who I am and what I am, right? Secondly, can I regulate myself through things and adjust and be more effective in the world that I am as it is today? And lastly, how do I continue to self motivate myself, right? So we have to look at it from that perspective and look at each ourselves and say, how do I move forward to better the space I'm in? And if that supports the betterment of the company or the world, then let's move in that space, because fear is very stifling, and it comes in so many forms, but a lot of it is self-inflicted fear, and we put a lot up on ourselves. I always say, if we don't have the data in front of you, then what are we fearing? Because if I don't have information
Mm.
that says this is going to happen or this is happening, then as far as I'm concerned, I shouldn't fear anything that doesn't necessarily exist in front of me, right? So it reduces this whole concept of being fear of the unknown, right? And that's where a lot of that fear comes from in spaces like this. So I always think, like, we have to pay attention to how we see things and then adjust accordingly for our own edification or for our own effectiveness. I don't spend too much time worried about what other people are doing. I just don't. I focus in on, how can I be better today? How can I make the world better today? And if that's one individual at a time, that's one individual at a time.
That is so wonderful, and great minds think alike. Because it's one of the things that I always said, especially I'm campaigning, I'm running for Senate, and I always say my focus is one person at a time, reaching that one person. So win or lose, no matter if I make it or not, if I feel that I have reached one person, just one person, and made a difference in their lives, then I'm happy and I'm satisfied. So I want to talk a little bit more about your organization. Like, I just want people to know clearly what they receive in the CEO Institute, or some of the services MK Circle offers.
Absolutely. So we are a executive coaching, counseling, and small business firm. So we focus in on the executive coaching and leadership space, where we focus in on working with entry point leaders, as well as mid, as well as executives. And what we do is walk them through our curriculum to, again, support growth, but definitely a larger sense of awareness, which then through that awareness comes strategy, comes better decision making, becomes getting unstuck. So we focus in on that executive leadership space, but we do look at entry level as a leader just as much as a middle or top. So when we say executive, I'm speaking of anybody in that leadership role who wants to advance or grow in their profession. And then, in coupled with that, we do leadership training. So we focus with organizations, we work with city entities, we work with Fortune 500 companies, we work with small nonprofits, we work with any mid-sized companies, but we go in and we support with leadership training and supporting the cohesiveness of a team, talking about how do we set succession planning. We talk about how do we operate. We talk about mindset. Definitely focusing on the personal competencies of emotional intelligence, the awareness, the regulation, the motivation piece. And we just have this really great curriculum that has been known to just shift lives. But not only that, we, just last year, out of all of our executive coaching clients who received, who looked to advance their career, that they all got, of course, more money or raises, that we were about a $473,000 in advancement dollars if we looked at those clients who were going for advancement. So that's a testament to the work that we do. And then our second division I mentioned is counseling. And in the counseling division, when we work with organizations, a lot of organizations go through different spats of grief, sometimes because of loss of a colleague, but we do grief training, we do stress training, we do burnout training. So we do a lot of really amazing health trainings for organizations. And as well, we do have a separate individual counseling that we do. We do outplacement training as well, and helping individuals who have been laid off. And so we support them in some training to help them advance in their career. So this is really about the wellness piece, but we look at wellness as a whole, from if we're grieving, if we're growing, where are we in that space? And we focus in on that in our counseling division. And then our last division, which I is so near and dear to my heart as well, is that we work with small business owners. Like, we help the small business owner to step into their CEO position and teach them what that looks like for them. And man, we have seen some amazing growth in our small business CEOs, and just understanding what CEOing is, what we call it, looks like. And we're intentional about calling them CEOs, because the moment that you decide that you are going to start selling your lotions, or the moment you start to decide you're going to start selling the t-shirts that you're making, you're a CEO. The moment you start in your kitchen and pressing those juices so you can sell those juices, you are now a CEO. And what that means is not just that the company is just not a company that is yours. This is a company now that you're talking to bring to a mass. Because if you're starting a business, you want to grow it. You don't want to start a business just to just be there. So we teach them how to first set in that CEO role. Then we talk about how do we grow the business. And we do it in a structural way that helps them grow their business, make sure they get the financial support they need. We partner with a lot of different of the economic development organizations out there who support us with funding. And so we do some really amazing work for small business CEOs. So that's our firm as a whole. Those are the things that we do. We also have an HR component. So we do support HR and helping hire. So we do some work around hiring. And a lot of it's all based on my research. When I was doing my research on, again, human behavior. So we do have an assessment that supports how individuals, how do we identify operational styles we talked about before, to be able to help a company pick the right person to hire. So that's us. That's what we do. And we have over, I think we're somewhere about that 600 mark in client base right now. And all of them are doing amazing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And what I love the most out of what you just said, because it was all incredible, but it's a mindset. I heard a mindset in what you were saying, because I talk about this all the time. So often people decide that they want to start producing something and making money from it, but it never occurs to them that this is a business. They get stuck in that hustle. Oh, I'm just doing it part time. I'm just doing it on the side. But I mean, if you're going to do it, I always say do it all the way to the bank. So the fact that you look at it early on from people who are, she's not just fixing something in her kitchen. They're not, it's a business. And once people change their mindset and truly understand that they are the CEO of their business and don't get stuck, and I see it more than anything else, people get stuck in that one man shop. And a lot of people take a lot of pride and glory. It's just me. I work 24 hours, 7 days a week because it's just me. Okay, well, maybe it's just you right now. But if you create a plan and you expand, then maybe you will have employees. So I love the fact that you brought that up. Now, Dr. Karen, we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to
Aw.
do at the end of every show. Yes, I know we were having such a good time. I could talk to you for hours. I love picking the brains of people who are people who know it. I'm like, tell me more, because I want to grow my business and I want to expand. But we're down to the last few minutes. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today.
Absolutely. I would say that, we want to see people grow. I mean, that is just it. We are focusing on growth of individuals in all sectors. And we are proud of our work. And we know that the curriculum and the work that we do and our coaches that we have, we know it works. We've seen it happen. Every time we hear from a client that says, man, I don't know what I would have done if you weren't in my life right now. I don't know if I wouldn't have been able to get to this promotion if it wasn't for you. And so that is so rewarding in itself for us. But we just want to get to the masses. We want to let them know that MK Circle CEO Institute is here for your growth, and don't be afraid. I mean, you can reach us quickly, easily, and everything that you talk about with us is confidential because all of our staff are credentialed, and they all must keep everything that is said between them and the client confidential. So there is what this, if you get a free wall, 4 walls of just free speech and say what you want and address what you need, something that we can get you to a place of growth. And that's our focal point. So would love for people to reach out to us. We are at MK Circle. You can catch us on all social medias at MK Circle CEO Institute. So any social media platform at MK Circle CEO, actually. And if you want to follow me, I'm at Dr. Karen Exec Coach on any social media network. You can reach me there. And if you just want to hit the website and get a free introductory coaching session, an introductory session, then you could come to mkcircle.com and hit the start your journey button, and we'll take it from there. So www.mkcircle.com and hit the start your journey button, and we'll get you to growth real quick.
Who I love it, and that real quick is what got me because I'm an Aries. I need everything real quick. I need everything fast. So you talk about these 4 walls. You guys might not be able to get rid of me because this sounds like therapy, and I need to talk about this. I tell people
Well,
all
I
the
mean,
time, like I always
there's
wanted.
definitely a psychology piece to it, of course, because that's
It
just my background.
is.
Yeah, it just comes with it. I have a doctorate in business administration, I have a doctorate in psychology, and it only makes sense that those two connect. So that's the underlying is all about how do we see this from a human perspective.
Hmm. And that makes sense because it is really psychological. It does something for you to even be a CEO and to operate your own company because you put on this face. I won't call it a facade because it's you, but it's just a different side of you. And you feel like, okay, I'm not always sure, but yet you got to put on this face for everybody else of confidence and strength. So you need somewhere where you can go and you can be vulnerable because for me it's like I'm always out there in the trenches fighting for people, fighting for businesses, fighting for companies, and then you got all these headaches with these companies. You got employees, and now this employee has filed a workers comp case, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm trying to help the people. And so you need somewhere where you can go and say, okay, well, what do I do about these things, and what do I do about these issues? So I definitely want people to go ahead and to share this show. It's a great show. Learn how to be a CEO. Go ahead and get your free consultation. Start the journey with Dr. Karen. She is amazing. I want to thank you for being today's guest on Ask Sharifah Videocast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
You are so welcome. I want to thank everyone who tuned in to today's episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast for checking it out, for sharing the show. I definitely appreciate you. I wouldn't be me without you. So I definitely appreciate all of your support. So if you want to be a guest on Ask Sharifah Videocast, please visit my website at AskSharifah.com. Until next time, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.